From space, Earth looks calm. Clouds swirl in slow spirals, oceans shimmer in blue and silver, and continents rest beneath a veil of white. But beneath that calm surface, the planet is constantly shifting. Heat rising, winds turning, waters moving in endless rhythm. It's a living system, guided by cycles that repeat across years, centuries, and even millennia. One of those cycles is called El Niño, a pattern that has shaped our weather, our climate, and our history. When it awakens, it can change the balance of the entire planet. Scene 2. The breath of the Pacific. El Niño begins in the Pacific Ocean, a place so vast it holds more heat and motion than all the atmosphere above it. Most of the time, trade winds blow steadily westward, pushing warm surface water toward Asia. Cold water rises near South America, bringing nutrients and life to its coasts. But sometimes, those winds weaken. The warm water drifts back eastward, spreading across the central and eastern Pacific like a tide of heat. That's when the pattern changes. That's when El Niño begins. The ocean warms, clouds shift, and the atmosphere responds like a vast, interconnected machine. One small change in the Pacific can echo across the entire planet. Scene 3. The global domino effect. As the Pacific warms, its heat radiates into the atmosphere, altering jet streams, wind belts, and rainfall patterns. In South America, rain pours down on normally dry deserts. In Australia and Indonesia, droughts ignite forest fires. In India, monsoon patterns shift, sometimes failing completely. And across North America, storms grow stronger, while winters grow warmer. It's as if Earth's climate engine has slipped out of balance. But this isn't chaos, it's rhythm. El Niño and its counterpart, La Niña, are opposing halves of the same natural cycle. They've been shaping our world for tens of thousands of years. Scene 4. The history written in coral and ice. To understand El Niño, scientists look backward, not just decades, but centuries. They read the history of the ocean from coral skeletons, ice cores, and tree rings. Each record tells a story of rainfall and drought, of years when the Pacific's warmth spread farther than ever before. El Niño events have been traced as far back as 13,000 years, long before civilization began. And in those records, patterns emerge. Civilizations rose and fell with the rhythm of the Pacific. The Moche of Peru, the Khmer Empire of Southeast Asia, even parts of the Mayan civilization, each faced droughts, floods, and famine brought on by the same recurring force. El Niño is not new. It's part of Earth's memory. But as the planet changes, its voice grows louder. Scene 5. The warming ocean. Over the last century, the oceans have absorbed more than 90% of the excess heat from human-driven climate change. That heat doesn't stay still. It travels, building energy beneath the surface. When El Niño appears now, it emerges into a world already warmer than before. The result is amplification. Storms grow stronger, rainfall grows heavier, droughts last longer. It's no longer just a cycle, It's a cycle under pressure. Scene 6. The year the oceans turned red. The strongest El Niño ever recorded occurred in 1997-1998. Satellite images showed the Pacific glowing with warmth, a massive scarlet band stretching halfway across the planet. That year, Indonesia burned in massive forest fires, and millions of tons of smoke filled the sky. Floods swept across Peru and Ecuador, destroying cities and farmland. In East Africa, rains triggered outbreaks of malaria and cholera. And in California, storms caused record landslides and flooding. All from a single shift in ocean temperature, just a few degrees above normal. Scene 7. The chain reaction. Every El Niño affects the planet differently, but the pattern is unmistakable. When the Pacific heats up, the global climate engine redistributes energy, and the world adjusts in unpredictable ways. Crops fail, fish migrate, animals change their migration routes, and human societies feel the strain. The ocean and atmosphere are not separate worlds, they are one system. When one breathes, the other responds. We used to think of weather as local, something that happened above our heads. But El Niño reminds us that every breeze, every cloud, every storm is connected. Scene 8. The signs in the deep. Today, satellites and buoys watch the Pacific constantly. They track temperature, wind, and ocean currents with precision that past generations could only imagine. These tools give scientists early warning months before an El Niño event peaks. But prediction is not prevention. Even now, as models improve, each new El Niño unfolds differently. Some fade quickly. Others unleash years of extremes. The ocean, like the atmosphere, has moods we still don't fully understand. Scene 9. What's coming next? As of now, scientists warn that future El Niño events may grow stronger, less predictable, and more frequent, driven by the warming ocean below. Some models suggest that by the end of this century, we could enter a permanent El Niño-like state, where the Pacific stays warm and the balance that once defined global weather disappears. In that world, rains would fall where they shouldn't, deserts would expand, storms would intensify, and the line between climate and chaos would blur. But El Niño is not our enemy. It is a message, a reflection of how finely tuned our planet's systems truly are.
In Part 1, we followed the birth of El Niño, a pulse of warmth spreading across the Pacific, rearranging weather patterns across continents. Now that warmth begins to touch everything: oceans, forests, wildlife, and people. Scene 1. The ocean turns strange. When El Niño spreads its heat, the sea surface warms by just a few degrees. But for marine life, that's the difference between balance and collapse. Cold, nutrient-rich water that once rose near Peru and Chile is replaced by warm, nutrient-poor currents. The anchovy fisheries that feed millions suddenly vanish. Seabirds starve. Sea lions abandon their pups. Coral reefs, already stressed by warming oceans, begin to bleach, turning from vibrant gardens into pale ghost towns. The ocean breathes slower, its rhythm changes, and life listens. Scene 2. The rain that never comes. Across the Pacific, El Niño pulls the clouds away from places that rely on them most. In Australia, monsoon rains fail. Rivers shrink. Wildfires spread across landscapes dry enough to burn for months. In Indonesia, peat forests ignite, sending vast plumes of smoke into the upper atmosphere. The haze can stretch for thousands of kilometers, blocking sunlight and altering regional climates even further. Every fire releases more carbon into the air, a feedback loop of heat feeding heat. Scene 3. Storms and floods on the other side. While one half of the planet dries, the other half drowns. The warmer Pacific fuels powerful storms that crash into the Americas. Rivers overflow in Peru and Ecuador. Coastal cities watch the sea reclaim their streets. The same event that steals rain from one coast delivers too much to another. Its balance inverted. Every El Niño is a reminder that the planet does not give and take separately, it redistributes. Scene 4. The human footprint. Modern society has learned to predict El Niño, but not yet to live with it. When crops fail in India or Indonesia, global food prices rise. When floods strike South America, infrastructure and homes are lost. Insurance systems strain, supply chains falter, and the people most affected are often those least responsible for the warming oceans that drive these events. In this sense, El Niño is not only meteorology, it is economics. It is empathy tested by distance. Scene 5. The air we breathe. During strong El Niño years, the planet's ability to absorb carbon weakens. Forests in South America and Southeast Asia release more carbon than they capture. Fires consume vegetation faster than it can regrow. Atmospheric CO2 levels spike temporarily, a pulse visible in global data, like a heartbeat quickening under stress. It is the planet feeling its own fever. Scene 6. Ecosystems in motion. From the Galapagos Islands to the Great Barrier Reef, species shift their ranges in search of stability. Tropical fish move toward cooler waters. Seabirds follow them, sometimes flying thousands of kilometers off course. Predators arrive in new territories. Entire food webs rearrange themselves. El Niño doesn't just change the temperature, it rewrites geography, if only for a time. When the ocean warms, the atmosphere listens. When the atmosphere shifts, life adapts, or it doesn't. Scene 8. The cities of heat. In urban regions, El Niño manifests differently. Warmer winters mean less snowpack in the mountains, less water for cities months later. At the same time, hotter summers strain power grids. Air conditioners hum louder, and the demand for energy feeds back into the very systems that warm the planet further. Infrastructure built for one climate finds itself tested by another. Scene 9. A world of fire and water. The paradox of El Niño is that it is both natural and amplified. It has always existed, but in a warming world, its consequences intensify. Every event now interacts with human influence, with cities, farms, and forests that reshape how water moves, how heat is stored, how resilience is tested. We no longer live beside the system. We live inside it. El Niño isn't a storm or a season. It's a language the Earth speaks when its balance tilts.
We've watched El Niño rise from the Pacific, spreading warmth across the oceans and atmosphere. It reshapes rainfall, redirects storms, and tests every ecosystem and economy it touches. But the story isn't only about destruction, it's about what happens after, when the heat fades and balance begins to return. Scene 1. The fade. Every El Niño eventually ends. The trade winds strengthen again, cool water wells up near South America. The Pacific exhales, and the warmth retreats westward. For a time, the world breathes easier, but the memory of what just happened, the floods, the fires, the human cost, remains written in data, in soil, in coral. And often, as El Niño fades, its opposite begins, La Niña, a cooling of the Pacific that can swing global weather to the other extreme. Cold replaces warmth, droughts turn for floods. Balance, always temporary, reasserts itself in motion. Scene 2. Preparing for the next pulse. Scientists know the cycle will return. That certainty shapes how the world plans ahead. In Peru, early warning systems now track sea surface temperatures in real time. In Indonesia, farmers adjust planting seasons to anticipated droughts. In California, reservoirs are redesigned to hold both floodwater and scarcity. These are small victories, proof that knowledge can soften impact, even if it cannot stop the wave itself. Satellites orbiting the planet measure ocean heat with precision unimaginable a century ago. Each byte of data is another second of foresight. Narrator, gentle. We can't silence the cycle, but we can learn its rhythm. Scene 3. Engineering the future. There is talk now of intervention, of reflecting sunlight with aerosols, of restoring mangroves and coral reefs to buffer the coasts from El Niño's surges. But each solution carries weight. Change one part of the system and the rest responds. The challenge isn't control, it's humility. To work with the Earth's patterns, not against them. Scene 4. A planet's memory. The planet remembers El Niño. The corals record it in layers of calcium. The glaciers in the Andes hold it in trapped air. Even the trees along the Amazon show its rhythm in the width of their rings. These memories stretch far beyond human lifespans, a reminder that Earth's history is not measured in years, but in cycles. When we speak of the next El Niño, we are speaking of the same pattern that has shaped climates since the Ice Age. The difference now is that we are here to witness it and to feel its reach in real time. Scene 5. Human resilience. In every corner of the world, people adapt in ways both quiet and profound. Communities in the Pacific Islands rebuild their homes on higher ground. Fishermen in Peru diversify their catch to survive when anchovies vanish. Farmers in East Africa experiment with drought-resistant crops. Each act is small, but together they define resilience. Because the story of El Niño is not only about a planet changing, it's about a species learning. Scene 6. The science of hope. For scientists, El Niño is more than a threat, it's a teacher. It reveals how heat moves through the ocean, how clouds shape global rainfall, how climate change magnifies every natural cycle. Understanding El Niño helps us model hurricanes, monsoons, and even the stability of polar ice. Each discovery deepens not despair, but clarity, the quiet kind that turns uncertainty into foresight. The more we see the planet as a single connected system, the more we realize that saving it isn't about stopping change, it's about learning to live within it. Scene 7. When the cycle turns again. The next strong El Niño will come, perhaps soon, perhaps years from now. The Pacific will warm again, rain will shift, and the world will feel the echo. But each time we'll be better prepared. Each time our data, our understanding, our empathy will grow, because knowledge itself is a form of adaptation. Scene 8. Reflection.
Look again at the planet from space, the swirling clouds, the endless blue. It seems peaceful, almost eternal. Yet beneath that calm surface, energy flows like breath. That breath of heat, wind, and water is the pulse of life itself. El Niño is not an interruption in that rhythm. It is the rhythm, the reminder that stability is an illusion and change is the true constant. Every few years, the Pacific speaks in the language of warmth. It shifts the rain, tests the forests, and writes another chapter in Earth's long story. And when it quiets, the planet exhales, only to breathe again. This is what El Niño will do to Earth. And this is what Earth will always do: adapt, balance, and endure. What El Niño Will Do to Earth. Written for cinematic voiceover. A story of cycles, connection, and the beauty of a living planet.